And welcome to A Place to Call Home. It's our weekly series where we're excited to talk about everything. I'm Portia Evans. My special guest live in studio with me today is Archbishop Dr. Joyce Turner Keller. And we are here to talk about a lot of things,
Yes.
especially uh, the flood, the August flood of 2016, and the recovery that's going on for a lot of people still. Uh, Dr. Keller is from Baton Rouge, and she traveled all this way to be with us today. So thank you for coming.
Oh, you're more than welcome. It was just so good to be with you, my friend, because it's been a while.
I have to tell
And
people the story of how we first met. Now, I was at this function. I don't remember where it
a grant
was.
writing class.
Yeah, but it was years ago, and this tall, statuesque woman walked into the room, and we started talking, and she introduced herself, and she told me, I am a minister. And I was
Yeah.
excited about that, but she
Yeah.
said, Portia, what you don't know is I am a minister who's HIV positive.
Right. Because I was getting ready to take a shot. You wanted to know why.
Right.
You said, are you diabetic? I'm like, no, I've got AIDS. And she's like, whoa. And she was taken back. Because, first of all, for me to actually disclose to someone I had never met
Right.
and to be comfortable doing so was not something that was was totally unheard of because of the stigma that's attached to HIV. I think the last thing anybody expected, because of the way I looked, the way I carried myself, I was not what people would be expecting
Right.
to see someone living with HIV or living with AIDS.
And you
to
have a
look like.
wonderful story. We've
Mhm.
had that conversation, but
Yes.
we're here today to talk about the flood.
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
we know that a lot of our friends in Baton Rouge went through the flood. One of my very dear friends lost everything. And tell me about your situation.
Oh, it was pretty devastating. Um, but God.
But God.
Um, Water got up to my ceilings. There was uh, an olive oil bottle wedged in my chandelier in the kitchen. And the day after the flood, I posted how I had lost everything. And it was nothing but the quickening of the Spirit of the Holy Ghost. And God woke me up before day in the morning and told me, you didn't lose everything.
Hmm.
So I had to go back to Facebook and correct that. I didn't know how powerful that message was because even though I had lost stuff
Yeah.
in the flood, I realized how strong my faith was and the fact that I was able to save my truck and my dog. And if it had not been for my little puppy Cherokee barking, because I was sitting in the family room and the flood was coming from the front, but the water was draining from the back.
Uh-huh.
It never occurred to me that my home was flooding. The dog started barking. I got up and looked out the window, and I'm virtually underwater. So by the time I got my purse and my puppy and got to my truck, water had gotten to my knees. And before I could get to
And
my
you're a
mailbox,
tall lady.
I'm a tall woman, I am. And by the time I got to my mailbox, water was halfway my door. And I remember the fireman saying, you were not going to make it. I'm like, oh, please, God gave me my truck. I got this. And I drove through the water, only to go to my sister's house and have to do the same thing the next morning. But I'm good. Because
'Cause God is
the one
good.
thing that I knew, that surviving that storm and having survived so much worse before, that God wasn't through with me yet. And there was still a message that I had to carry. And when I started talking about how all I lost was stuff,
Stuff.
that I was not one of those 13 people that had perished in the flood, I still had my health and strength. And when you talk about living with HIV, my medicine was in the house.
Lord.
So I had to I had trouble getting my medicine in Baton Rouge. So I had to drive all the way to Houston, Texas to get my medicine. We couldn't get out for a while. And even then, I was living off of what little money I had. So by that time, I had exhausted what I had. And a friend of mine in Washington, D.C., wired me money to Walmart. And I was able to take that. Another young man, Eddie Hamilton, in Ohio, Columbus, Ohio, did a GoFundMe page to make sure I was able to get a few decent pieces and some underwear, necessities, bare necessities. And a year ago, I was working at the homeless shelter, talking about surviving the flood. And I had written about how special it was, how often we take for granted the privacy of being able to go into your bathroom and take a shower.
Right.
I had written about how careless we are about being able to sit on the toilet and stay in the bathroom as long as you needed to.
Right.
I
We take
wrote
for
about
granted.
that. We took so much for granted.
So many things.
And then 1 year later, I'm one of those homeless people. I am one of those people. And all I could think about was, my God, you know, I'm grateful to you that I had that compassion a year ago. And I knew that God, having blessed me to have that kind of compassion a year ago, He was going to allow that to transcend into my life today. And so far, I can tell you, He has.
Been through the
God
fire, been through the
has-
flood.
He's prevailed. He's prevailed. And what, Portia, you don't know what it meant to me to be able to reach out to you because, again, I lost my phone and everything. Numbers were lost. But on Facebook, when you and I connected again, and it was just like it was, there had never been a space of time where we had lost each other. And knowing that you have been there for me, and then you've allowed me to be there for you. And it's the most difficult thing because you have a hard time accepting help. And so do I. But God has kind of bridged that gap to where we're learning.
Oh, yeah.
We're in a growing process. And you too have been through the flood.
I have.
And you've weathered many, many storms. But God, and we're still here.
And there were many programs put in place during the storm that we want to talk about today.
Definitely.
The governor, I think, did an excellent job in going to Washington, D.C. and acquiring funds for the state of Louisiana. So I want to salute my governor. And I read the other day that he's still not through. So he's still asking for money. Whether we get it or not, I don't know yet. But there were some programs put into place and some assistance available for a lot of people. A lot of people, were discouraged because they were thinking that this storm was going to be like Katrina.
Correct.
Like FEMA's going to come in and I'm going to get paid.
We're gonna get help.
Yeah.
We're gonna get help.
We're gonna get
Basically,
help.
We're gonna get help.
And it wasn't like that for a whole lot of people. A lot of people got denied those FEMA claims. I got denied.
I'm one of them.
I'm one of them too. I got denied because I had flood insurance.
Well, I was denied because I did not have flood insurance. Also because I lived in a flood zone. I was supposed to have flood insurance. But I think what I would say the state of Louisiana's insurance commissioner's office, our state senators, our state representatives, and our city councils.
Hold on, now. It's election season.
Oh, but that's why I'm saying what I gotta say. Hopefully, they hear what I have to say. My problem with the whole process was that, not that I shouldn't have had service, I should not have had insurance. All I'm saying is that, just like I have homeowners insurance and car insurance, I should have been allowed the opportunity to pay my flood insurance every month, just like I was able to pay homeowners and car insurance every month. I feel, because I had checked on the insurance about 2 weeks before the flood happened, and I was told,
And they want you to pay this lump sum.
it was going to be $2,890 I think that's what it was. And I'm like, I'm on a fixed income, so where am I going to get that kind of money to pay all at once? And I have been speaking with some of our representatives, hoping, and definitely I've been speaking with Senator Regina Barron, and I've expressed my concern to her because you represent me. But what was troubling to me is that even though I spoke to other elected officials, they didn't even know we had to pay in a lump sum because they don't live in a flood area.
Right.
So when I had a mortgage on my home, I had flood insurance. But now that my home is paid for, I don't have flood insurance because I can't afford the lump sum. And I'm hoping that some of our elected officials see this piece and that they do what is necessary to make home owners flood insurance affordable to me, because as a senior citizen who has played by the rules, paid for my home, I'm a contributing member of society.
Pay your taxes.
I pay my taxes. I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do by the book. But I am being disenfranchised by a system that is supposed to support me and help me. And as a senior citizen, I find it very discouraging that in America, I cannot afford one of my bare essentials such as flood insurance. There's something wrong with this picture.
Now, there were other programs put in place, like
The STEP program.
the STEP program.
Shelter at home.
Tell me about that.
Okay.
I did not need those programs, so I
If
didn't
you had
inquire.
3 inches of water in your house, you needed that program.
Well, I fortunately lived in a 2-story, so I did shelter in place, but I slept upstairs.
Well, what about, okay, well, I understand that, but the thing of it is, I qualified for that program.
Mm-hmm.
But what happened with me, I qualified for the program. I'm not very satisfied with it, and I'd be lying if I said I was. One of the things I take issue with is the time that it has taken them to do what they need to do in my home. And I feel like my home is still being held hostage. The contractors came in, and my pet peeve is that I've seen at least 5 crews come in to deal with my electricity, and it's still not done. My pet peeve is that I believe that I feel, and that if they're being paid, that certified electricians should have been sent in to work with my home. I feel like my home. I feel like I've been disrespected, because if you're being paid to do a job and you're sending in people who are not qualified to do that job, I feel like you're stealing from me as a taxpayer. And then I have other issues with the shelter at home program. They were supposed to do floors. Now, they did do my floor. I did get a hot water heater. I got a microwave. I got a hot plate. I got the little pieces of sheetrock around my wall sockets that are still not working. But my windows, in one of my rooms, the room that I'm supposed to be safe in, they did give me a door to my bathroom, and they sprayed my house. But my house had already been sprayed. That was done before. It had already been dried out and everything. There was one room that was still needed to be dried out.
Now, did they give you something like a trailer to live in?
I have that in my front yard.
Okay.
But that has something to do with the STEP program.
Oh.
My pet peeve is with the STEP program.
Okay.
Because I feel like people are being paid for work that they're not doing. I have boards over my bedroom window, 2 pieces of plywood with a piece of tape. They did give me a heating and air conditioning unit. But if I'm supposed to feel safe in my home, I think that the broken window in my bathroom should have been repaired, and it wasn't.
And all those things, I just want to say that you will never recover fully
Of course not.
to what you had before this incident happened?
No, not after losing over 700 pair of shoes. And
Oh.
you know me and my high heels.
Pet
So
peeve.
I had quite that, yeah, my shoes. But I'm grateful for the help I've gotten. And I say that because I ended up getting the FEMA trailer. After being denied by FEMA, they told me I should have had this and I should have had that. Okay, I know that. But I've been in my home for 14 years. All the other storms had come. I was unaffected.
This was
unimpacted.
an historic event.
It was.
This
It
was a
was.
100-year storm.
And then to be told that I didn't qualify for an SBA loan because my
Okay.
income is too low.
Right.
Senior citizens don't make any money. And then the other part is that I didn't, like I said, didn't qualify for FEMA because I should have had FEMA flood insurance. But I was given a trailer. But initially I was told I didn't qualify because my home is in a flood zone and they weren't putting trailers in flood zones, mobile homes in flood zones. And I was like, well, I don't know what you're going to do, but I'm not going to leave my house. I have enough property. You can either put the trailer on my property. And then I wrote quite a scathing letter, well, you know me, to FEMA. And when I was called and interviewed, I repeated what I had written and what I was thinking. And they did give me a place to live. And I'm grateful for that. But I also have another pet peeve because someone that was working with our tax dollars came into my yard with a political sign on the back of his truck that I found very offensive. One of them was in reference to our presidential candidate, Senator, Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton. And it was very offensive and vulgar. And then the one about our president was even more disturbing. So I'm coming in my home, and this truck is sitting in my yard, and I'm like, I know he didn't. This is somebody on a federal contract working in my yard with a political statement on the back of his truck with my money. So I asked for the supervisor, and then I told the supervisor about my discontent. I said, first of all, I know this is not a political show, but I said, I take offense at what I see on the back of that truck. I said, I'm a person who was sexually assaulted. So I take issues with certain statements. I don't care who make them. So that's a problem for me. And the fact that that sign is on the back of that truck, I find it offensive because, first of all, you're referring to a woman in a very derogatory manner. You're talking about my president in a worse manner. So he got to go. So he said, what you want me to do? I don't know, it's your job. But my thing is, first of all, you already knew that this person had that truck because he's on your job. So I called somebody who worked with the Corps of Engineers, and I expressed my discontent. I don't think that anybody who's making money with my tax dollars, I have a nonprofit. You don't see anybody's sign on my vehicle. I don't care what my political views are. Those are personal. That's mine. I'm not going to drive on any government property or anybody's private property with my political views in clear sight. It is clearly a violation of my constitutional right, and it's clearly a violation of any federal dollars that any contractor is being paid to put any kind of sign like that on his truck. And I find it offensive and I find it disrespectful for them to come into an African American community. And I don't say neighborhood because I don't believe in that hood thing. Into my community and disrespect me in that manner.
Well, you mentioned your nonprofit,
Yes.
and that is Aspirations.
It's Aspirations. We're still doing HIV testing, still doing counseling, and we've moved up. We've stepped up our game because now we're doing plays, and we're using theater to address the issue of HIV and homosexuality and transgender issues. We're using that to address the issues of suicide among our young people, gender identity issues. We're talking about PrEP, the medicines that now, the Truvada that you can take if you're involved with a woman or a man or whomever who's HIV positive, and you can take that pill. And they usually tell you within 72 hours after being having been exposed. But I would say to anybody, as soon as you know that somebody's HIV positive, I don't care if it's 10 days, get on the pill, and you have to take that pill for at least 6 months. But I also will tell you that taking that pill does not cure the problem.
Right.
Because I think we still need to use condoms. I think that is something that nobody wants to talk about. But condoms do protect you from HIV. But condoms do not protect you from other herpes. That's a skin-to-skin contact. Hepatitis can be skin-to-skin contact. So, and then there's another strand of gonorrhea. So we're trying to get out the education that people will actually understand.
And I understand the numbers are still rising. Here
Our
in the-
numbers. Oh yeah,
here in the
still
state
we're number
of
3 now.
Louisiana.
Yeah. We're still in the top 10, and we're not there for lack of trying to educate people. Basically, I think we're still there because people are testing later. It's not that they're getting infected; it's just that they're just finding out. And let's open the door and throw the baby out with the bathwater. We have to keep in mind that by the time we found out that HIV was impacting our community, our house was already on fire, and there was no fire station, no firemen to come in to throw out the water. By the time we found out that HIV was impacting us, a number of people had already died that we thought had cancer, or they had pneumonia, of other, side effects that were caused by HIV. The stigma that's attached to HIV
Still.
is still so prevalent. And then there's a complacency that someone will look at me and say, oh, she's fine. There's a cure.
Magic Johnson.
Yeah, but there is no cure for HIV right now. Is it being contained? Yes. I am what you would consider virally suppressed because of the medicines that I'm on. I have to take that pill every day. I can't take it today and worry about it next week.
Is it affordable for people?
Very expensive.
Very expensive.
It's very, very expensive. The medicines are very, very expensive, but they're necessary.
Oh, yeah.
They're necessary.
To save your life.
But the joy that I have is knowing that I am healthy enough to go out and try to save the life of another. And I don't mind being the face of HIV because I want people to look at me and know that there's life after HIV. I also want them to look at me and know that there's no shame. And we need to take away the blame. But as I said, we stepped up our games. We're doing plays in churches. So we got to bring it to your church. We're doing plays. We have one called Ain't No AIDS in My Church. And we've done 3 of those. And we have another one entitled Will You Still Love Me? Because people have a tendency to love you until they know you.
Right.
And my thing is, if you can't love me because of what I'm living with, you can keep going because you're not wasting a little time I got left. It ain't worth it.
Minister, Reverend Archbishop Joyce Turner Keller. She's here with a tremendous story today. And I certainly want to thank you, friend. Now, before we go, you got to tell me who this little man is.
This little man happens to be the grandson of one of my very good friends, evangelist Lucille Hamilton Perkins, and this is her grandson. It's her son's son. And he's someone I'm spoiling. His name is Maxim.
Maxim.
Yes.
Okay,
He's
welcome to the
Maxim.
show, Maxim. Wave bye-bye to the folks. We got to go, folks. That's going to wrap up our show for today.
Thank you.
And we'll be back again next week with something else. In the meantime, I'm Portia Evans for a place to call home. You be blessed, and bye-bye.